Mrs. J. My name is Aio Sifu. I am of Muscogee Creek and Cherokee descent. Today, I will be offering to you two stories. One is the story of the very first flute, a very endearing love story. Second, which I believe is my favorite, is why butterflies are silent. Mado. Long ago, in a beautiful wood of tall trees, full of game, beautiful clear water, and soft pine needles underfoot, lived a happy people that honored the land in everything they did. Amongst them was a young warrior, as handsome as he was accomplished. He ran the fastest, shot the truest arrow, and therefore brought back the most game to his people. This warrior was also totally taken by the most beautiful maiden in the village. There was only one problem, and that was she didn't seem to know that he even existed. It didn't matter that he could tame and ride the wildest pony. It didn't matter how many stickball games he won. It didn't matter how high a tree he was able to climb. Nothing seemed to draw her attention. One day, when the maiden was going to the creek with the other women to gather water for the village, the young warrior decided to climb to the very tall cliffs that were in plain view of where the women would be, to prove his courage once and for all. The young warrior climbed the great height, determined to dive off of the highest point to show himself worthy. And so he dove, to no avail. As far as he was concerned, her eyes were still closed. The young warrior, feeling as if there was nothing else he could do to prove himself, grew crestfallen and bewildered. To tend to the wounds in his heart, he set off into the wonderful woods that was his home, with the beautiful trees and soft pine needles underfoot and crystal clear water, but now he saw none of these things. His state of heartbreak led his feet to a part of the forest that he had never really seen before. Here the sun did not shine so brightly, and the trees seemed to betray the sad and overlooked feeling in his heart. So when he came upon an old fallen tree in the middle of a gloomy copse, he took his rest to further bemoan his fate. The thing was, this was not just any stand of trees. This young warrior had come to an ancient cedar tree grove, where the sacred trees had long ago died, and Brother Woodpecker had left his signature everywhere amongst them. Tap, 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 went the industrious bird on some nearby branch. But the young brave noticed none of these things. At least, not right away. He sat there with his head in his hands, not quite knowing what to do with himself. He had never failed in anything before. But eventually, something happened that made him begin to pay attention, and the wind blew. And he started hearing things he had never heard. This sound brought him back to himself. There was an eerie singing within the trees, unlike anything he had ever heard before. Momentarily, he was on alert, until he realized that what he was hearing was the wind blowing right through the holes in the tree branches. Tap, 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 went the woodpecker again, followed by a resounding crash right next to the young man. Luckily, he wasn't hurt, but seeing the branch so closely drew curiosity to him. And he thought to himself, what would happen if I were to use the wind in my own body to also create a sound in this branch? And so he did that very thing, noticing that it produced a rather mournful sound. He said to himself, this sounds like my heart feels. Let me stay here a while and work with this thing to give my heart its voice. So he placed his fingers upon the many holes, watching how the pitches that blew through would change. And then he began to do this thing in earnest. And perhaps it sounded something like this. Now, water doing what water does, echoed the young warrior's music so that the maiden heard it. She was captured in an instant. What is this? She said to her friends, who of course had no answer. I must know, she exclaimed. I will go and find this sound, for it has touched me. And off went the beautiful girl into the beautiful wood, with Heart Song as her guide, until she came upon the young warrior sitting on a fallen tree, blowing into a branch. She thought it not strange, for it was this one act that shone light upon his true self, and had enabled her to love him, for in this one act he had revealed his heart. One day, Creator was resting, sitting high in the sky and watching the children at play in the village. The children laughed and sang, yet the Creator's heart grew heavy as he considered that the way that the children were made would eventually cause them to grow old, their skin becoming wrinkled and their hair turning gray. The young hunter's arm would fail, and the slender young girls will grow round, and the light in their faces will fade. Even the playful puppies will know the sting of age and limp with white muzzles and sad eyes. Creator considered the fragrant flowers that were then yellow and blue, red and purple. Even these will eventually wither, just as the leaves from the trees will fall and dry up. It is the way of things, Creator said. It is my design. But in this right now, I believe that I will miss the joy found in this very moment. Having taken all of this in, Creator grew thoughtful. It was fall season, and the idea of the coming winter, with its cold and lack of game and green things, brought weight to Creator's heart. This day was still warm, though, and Creator was shining, watching the play of light and shadow on the ground, the yellow leaves being carried here and there by the wind. Creator saw the blueness of the sky and compared it to the whiteness of the cornmeal the women ground. Creator smiled. All of these colors give me an idea. Why don't I preserve them? I will make something that will gladden my own heart and bring wonder to these, my children. And so, the Creator took out a bag and started gathering things. A spot of sunlight, a handful of blue from the sky, the whiteness of cornmeal, the shadow of playing children that danced, the blackness of a beautiful girl's hair, the yellow of the falling leaves, the green of the pine needles, the red, purple, and orange of the flowers all around. All of these things went into the bag. And as an afterthought, the songs of the birds went in too. Then Creator walked over to the grassy spot where the children were playing and said, "Little children, this is for you," and gave them the bag. "Open it," Creator said. "There's something amazing inside." The children opened the bag, and all around their heads, settling on their hair, fluttering up again to sip from this or that flower, flew hundreds upon hundreds of butterflies of every imaginable color and size. And the children were completely enchanted and proclaimed that they had never seen anything quite so beautiful. Then, as if this pageantry of color weren't enough, the butterflies began to sing. The children at this were utterly entranced, their smiles growing to match the wonder before them. Well, nearby, a tiny songbird heard what was going on and came flying in, settling onto the Creator's shoulder and asking, "Oh, great one, why have you given our songs to these newly admittedly very pretty things? Didn't you say to us, the birds, that each would have their very own song? Yet now we see these thin-winged creatures sounding like us. Can you not let that you have given them the colors of the rainbow be enough?" Creator stopped and thought about this for a while and then said, "Little bird, you are right. I did make one song for each bird, and there is no reason why any of you should have to share it." And so, Creator took gently the songs away from the butterflies. And this is why they are silent today.